Hello everybody, welcome back to Forza Horizon 4, and the Toyota Supra Mk4 is back in the game. I'm still waiting for the rest of them, aka the LFA, that's all I really care about right now, but whatever. I do quite like the Mk4 Supra. It's an icon, not just of JDM culture, but of automotive culture in general. And, well, all the JDM fanboys are squealing like little girls on how it is the greatest car ever made, certainly the best JDM car, which got me thinking, is it though? Is it the best JDM car in the world? Now, in order to have this challenge, I set up a rule. The class limit was going to be roughly around the top of B class. There was an exception, the Honda NSX, because I knew if I didn't include that, people would get very upset with me. That is like the very low A class, like like 707 or something. But I knew if I didn't include that, that would be irritating. General rule is stick it in B class, which means no R34, no Spirit R RX7, because we're really doing the 90s here. 90s was, I guess, the pinnacle of JDM. And yeah, we're just going to be sticking to those. So we got the GTO from Mitsubishi, we got the Evo, the R33, the normal RX7s, and of course the Supra, and a wild card. You see, I wanted to have a car with similar class, a mid-B class, from the 90s that would compete against these sports cars from Japan. Enter the Audi RS4. And this is the station wagon version, aka the Avant. Now, for every car that gets beaten by the four-door wagon, it will lose 10 points from its final score. Because these are sports cars, some of them even mid-engined. And if they lose to a German wagon in a JDM contest, it's kind of an embarrassment in many minds. So with those rules set, I started out with a nice simple hot lapping challenge around a rival circuit at the Falcon Speedway. And let me get this right out the bat. The GTO, which was at the time one of the most advanced cars in the world with active suspension, active aero, four-wheel drive, was terrible. I'm sorry. It was the heaviest by far, almost 300 pounds heavier than the Avant, surprisingly. And it just couldn't take corner speed. It felt like I was driving a Bugatti Veyron, which I do not like driving a Bugatti Veyron. It's like a mountain, and this is very similar to that. So it struggled a little bit, shall we say. Now compare the mountain to the Mosquito. The Evo. I absolutely love the Mitsubishi Evo. Same thing with the Impreza here. Both of those are absolutely fantastic cars to drive. Both weigh less than 3,000 pounds, both all-wheel drive, both less than 300 horsepower, which means immense amounts of grip. And you could brake pretty much whenever you want and turn in pretty much whenever you want and boot it as early as possible, and it would go around. So, the only problem is that whole lack of power, the acceleration, because there's some 40 horsepower down on the Supra. And the Supra, I'll add, was pretty good. I would argue it was up there with, it was better than the NSX, certainly in terms of driving, which was surprising, because I thought the NSX would be better, but the Supra was one of the better handling cars. I really liked it. Not as good as the Evo, but for rear-wheel drive, certainly one of the best rear-wheel drives. And if you look at the score tables here, no real surprise, the NSX-R from 1992, mid-engined, it would expect to be beaten. You know, it's first place, obviously. Second place, again, not too much of a surprise, the Supra, doing very good there. Third place, though, the RX7, the least powerful car here, a measly 260 horsepower. But very good to the corners, very quick accelerating because of that rotary engine. There was only one vehicle that struggled, the GTO. Lost 10 points because it was beaten by a second from the RS2. Did I say RS4? I said RS4. The RS2 Avant. Yeah, that got beaten. Yeah, whoops. GTO not doing too hot. we move on to a staple though, the 0 to 100 and then back to 0 again test, which measures braking and accelerating all in one go. It's a twofer. And this would obviously favor the four-wheel drive vehicles, and you can see that quite clearly. The R33 improving upon its disappointing lap time, with this one scoring a 5th place from this run here. And hell, the Evo went from 4th. Oh. We move on to the penultimate challenge, a simple speed trap, where medium speed corners, high speed corners were all going to be contested with a hairpin, no less. So it was really all-encompassing. And that meant it was probably going to be safe to say that the RS2 would be beaten by everything, because it's very big and very heavy. And sure enough, the GTO did not come in last. It beat the Audi, and it beat the GTR as well. It's probably the more surprising thing. The GTR was not having a good day. I don't know why. I was not getting a feel with that vehicle, but you know what's having a good day? The Evo. The Evo was on fire. Even with a slide in the damp rain, it still blitzed the fastest time, or fastest speed, I guess, on the trap. It was immensely fast, that vehicle. And everything beat the Audi. It was very weird. The Supra was very good despite being rear-wheel drive, and sure, some cars are better than others. The GTO still suffered from understeer. The Evo was still fantastically quick. The NSX was a bit slidier than I would have liked, but all in all, it was still a pretty good choice. Surprised it was that slidey for a mid-engine car, but yeah, all in all, every vehicle, as you can see on this table, was actually very good. Some were better than others, but all in all, pretty solid selection of vehicles for a mountain pass. Which means we move on to our final test. Top speed inspired by the Midnight Club. We gotta see how fast each one of these cars could go in a straight line. And you would think the GTO with 320 horsepower, the second most powerful car here, tied with the Mark IV Supra, but no, the Evo, the GTO continues to suck. Scoring a 6th place. Now, what does it beat out exactly? Well, it beats the RS2 by 1 mile an hour, 173, 172, and it beats out the 22B and the Evo. Yeah, you see, everything else here is a sports car. Those are rally cars, which means they have short gears, and I actually maxed both of them at 160 odd miles an hour, so they both lost 10 points. If they had longer gears, they would do very well, but the problem is they just buzzed the limiter, and that doesn't really help for straight line speed. The NSX-R, again, no real surprises here. It is a bit down on power, 276 horsepower on that one, but it's incredibly aerodynamic, which meant it could muster 177, which is not bad. But first place is the biggest surprise by far. The least powerful car here, the RX7, scoring a W, was a blistering 184 miles an hour. I actually went into the tuning menu because I didn't believe that speed, and it reached it, no problem. I checked to make sure I didn't have any upgrades it on accident. It was fast. I don't know how they made such a tiny horsepower numbers, 40 horsepower down on the Supra, and it's 3 miles an hour faster. That boggles my mind, but well done to the RX7 in that regard. And the GTR actually comes strong for once, scoring its only podium of the day at 180 miles an hour, but 4 down on that blistering RX7. Which means it is time for the final results. First place, no real surprise to anyone, with this is a V8 Supercars scoring system. The NSX-R, 279 points, some 13 points ahead of second place, the Mark IV Supra. Which means if we can, the NSX-R, we're going to exclude that for just a second. It's a very good car, make no mistake. It isn't really it's not really a JDM sports car, it's a supercar. You know, it's mid-engine, it's a V6 designed by Formula 1 engineers. it's not like any of these other cars. It's completely in a different class. This one with the Ferraris and low-key McLarens these days. These are sports cars going against supercars, and while it is impressive that some of them were able to put up a fight, they're not really in the same class. So we're going to exclude the Supra, or we're going to exclude the NSX because the Supra won it. The Supra is the ultimate JDM car in first place. Second place, though, in our little table, the RX7. By far the most impressive showing here. Easily. Least powered, the only rotary here, and it was able to humiliate much more powerful vehicles and win in the straight line speed while still getting a pretty darn decent lap time. Yeah, it was fantastic. I will concede. The Evo, I would argue the Evo, if it had longer gears and didn't get 8th place and a 10-point reduction, it would have won this challenge. I will admit. If it had a better gearbox, it would have smoked the competition. Because it won outright, and then it got a further 3 top 4 finishes. Well, 2. And it should have gotten a top 4, but the gearbox let it down. Which is a shame, because I love the Evo. So that could only muster a 4th place. Even with an 8th place finish, it still got 4th overall. Beating out the 300ZX Twin Turbo, which is far more powerful, far lighter, and more sporty, if you will. It's got less doors, rear-wheel drive, turbocharged, whole shebang, you know? It beat that out. That's pretty impressive. And then there's the poor GTO in last place. 169 points with its reductions. Yeah, it lost 20 points from its already last place scores. It did not do well. The Mitsubishi was far better at developing the Evo than they were at the GTO. Let's just put it that way. So there you go. You are correct, JDM fanboys. The Supra is the best JDM car statistically, although the most impressive JDM car, I would argue, is the RX-7. So, I'll be back with more